What's up, Parslords? It's your god, Lightwater here, coming at you with another video. And today we're going to be making a video that I've wanted to make for quite some time. A lot of people ask me how I theorycraft my classes, and well, it's pretty much a rabbit hole of question because it's pretty complicated. So I'm going to try to tackle that question. God help me. Essentially, we're going to make a 4-part series, I think. And I'm going to try to explain how to theorycraft. I know, it's going to be crazy. Bear with me. I'll try to walk you through what I do and a step-by-step process, so in hopes that you can attempt to recreate what I do and therefore replace me. I know, I'm making videos so you can essentially replace me and never need to watch me ever again. I'm crazy. But it's my ultimate goal. I would love to teach people how to theorycraft. And eventually, when there's new expansions that come out and new specs, they can dissect them and immediately figure out what the best way is to play without going to a website. Like, wouldn't that be insane if you guys could do the math yourself? So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this will be part 1 in a series of how to theorycraft. And first things first, we're back to our lovely WoW database. So when you first start to theorycraft a spec, you need to understand what its coefficients are. If you're playing healer, and we'll use healer for this example, but this applies to everything. Everything has a percentage of your main stat that it's based off of. For casters, it's your intellect coefficient. This is the percentage of intellect that your spell gets. So for example, if you have a 100 intellect spell power coefficient, it's basically a 1-to-1 ratio. If you have 100 intellect, the spell will do 100 damage. Likewise, if it's a 200% intellect coefficient, it'll be twice as much, so it'd be do 200 damage. So the first thing I do is I get a notepad in and out of the game, right? And I write down everything that has to do with these spells, right? Their mana cost, the name of the spell, its cooldown, cast time, how much it heals for, all that stuff. So I don't know if you'll be able to see. I'll try to blow up my camera a little bit, but you can see my shitty handwriting. I kind of divided the piece of paper into 4 quadrants. So the top portion will be the base versions of everything, yeah? Just the name of the spells, all that goody-goody. And the bottom will add talents and passives. That'll be in the next video. So if you would like to see a better view of it, I can show you one that's already completed. This is what it'll look like when it's done. So you'll have the spells here, their coefficients, the cooldown, the mana cost, and then we will divide how much it heals by the mana cost, and that gets you this number, the healing per 1% mana spent. It's very important for healers. Oh, I guess I was blocking most of it, but now you can see it. So you get your healing per 1% mana here. Okay, so how do we get these numbers? Well, I pull them directly off the website. So let's go and do that. So you should always go one by one, right? You don't want to miss any spells. And remember, we only care about the things that matter. So if you're a DPS, you only care about the damage spells. If you're a healer, you only care about the healing spells. So we're going to look at this through the lens of a Resto Druid. So the first thing we need to remember, Restoration Druid passive, okay? The class recently saw a 3% buff. The core template of the class was 40%. So it's 40% plus 3% plus 3% of 40%. It's a little weird, but that's how Blizzard does their math. That's why it's 44% and not 43%. It took me a little bit to realize that, and I'm actually remaking this video because I had a lot of misinformation. So we're doing it right. Anyways, so every number that we see here is not increased by 44%, and you'll have to do that yourself. So for example, we go to Rejuve, okay? It says heals the target for 72% of spell power over 12 seconds. So this number is very wrong. It hasn't been increased by the Restoration Druid passive, which is 44%. You'll have to do that yourself, right? So we will bust out our favorite tool here, the calculator. I've already been doing some math here. Okay, so 72% plus, 72 plus 44%. Boom, that's how much it really heals for, 103.68. All right, and interesting fact, that is not the mana cost of the spell. It does not cost 10.5%. All of the values on here are marked up by 500%, and that's because some wonkiness about it being a hybrid class. It's basically taking your mana pool as a balanced druid, and it's weird. Essentially, you have to divide all of the mana cost on all the hybrid healers by 5%. So the true mana cost of this ability would be 2.1%. It's a lot of things to remember, so I suggest that you take your time when you do this so you don't make any mistakes, right? So I've been updating this a little bit. Well, this is not the updated one, but so it's 2.1%. Obviously for the coefficient, we take this number. So let's copy that there, plug that in there. So it heals for that much. It doesn't have a cooldown, so we put 0 on cooldown. Its mana cost is 2.1%, and then the healing per 1% mana. Now, how do we figure this out? Well, we take this number, which is how much it heals, and we divide it by the mana cost. So you always take the number on the left, and divide it by the number on the right. So divided by 2.1% mana equals, and this will be how much healing it does per 1% mana. So we copy this number, and we put it here. And obviously, we don't need this ridiculously long number. So we want probably just 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. And there we go. This line is done. It is updated. And so you know this is how much Rejuve heals for. Here's the cooldown. Here's the mana cost. And here's the healing per 1% mana. Now, you would do this for all the spells. And then, because you don't want to get the wrong stuff, you would go through with a fine-tooth comb and you'd make sure you didn't miss anything. Like, for example, Rejuve has a passive that's not factored in. Regeneration's duration is increased by 3 seconds. This makes the spell 15 seconds. Now, I bet you're wondering, wait a second, but we only calculated for a 12-second Rejuve, right? So how do we find out? Well, the increase from 12 to 15 is a 25% increase, right? So there's multiple ways we could do this. I'll show you one way right now. So we know this is the amount that it heals for. Now, Rejuve ticks every 3 seconds. So since it's got a 12-second duration, we know that it ticks 4 times as a base. So we divide it by 4, right? So each tick does this amount. So since we're adding 3 seconds, we know that 1 more tick will be added. So we need to add this value to the number that we had before, right? So we had 103.68 plus 25.92. Boom. That's our true value right there. That's how much it actually heals. So we'll copy that. Go back to our handy dandy notepad here. And we will delete that. Put that in. So it heals for that much. There's this cooldown, mana cost. So now we have to fix the healing per 1% mana. So we divide by 2.1 and we get this number. Copy that. Plug that in. And we get 61.71 healing per 1% mana. And that line is done. You would obviously go back to this after you found out that there was 3 more seconds on the Rejuve. And so you just kind of go real slowly through all of these. Life Bloom, all this stuff. So for spells like Life Bloom, you would add its hot plus the bloom effect. Because obviously if you're a very good druid, you're going to make sure that you don't renew it too early, right? But you make sure you get the bloom effect. There's a little trick that you can do. You can actually redo Life Bloom half a second before it runs out, and it still gives you the bloom heal plus the last tick. This spell doesn't exist anymore. I don't know why that's in there. Regrowth. Okay, so this is outdated information. Wow, can't believe this is here. Okay, so they have not changed this, so you have to be very careful and make sure that you check everything in game. Regrowth doesn't have the initial crit increase, right? So you got to be careful and make sure that the classes say and have the same coefficients as what's on here. Luckily, I knew about that, and Living Seed doesn't exist in the game. Wow, database is really dropping the ball. Impressive. Anyways, I've checked all the other numbers on here, and I know for a fact that they are correct. They just have some old passives on here that haven't been removed for some reason. So, unfortunate, but what can you do? Alright, so now once you've done that, and you've gone to all these spells, it's then time to add all of the passives plus the talents in. Now that's where things start to get tricky. And that will be for the next video. So this is kind of the beginner video. This is just a guide kind of showing you how to essentially Control C, Control V, copy and paste. You want to write down all of the information for yourself, so that way you have it as a reference sheet. Maybe you have it on a real piece of paper or a notepad, in and out of the computer. That way, on hand, you always know the mana cost, how much your spells heal for, their cooldown, how they function, yada 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 yada. Now, in this one, you wouldn't factor in things like, the beacon or other additional healing sources. That would be for the other squares on the bottom, right? That's for the second run through. So for example, let me show you. This is the rest of Druid Theory Crafting 1.2. This is with everything included. This is obviously many hours of work later, but this would be the final product, right? Obviously, you can see the efficiency of Rejuve went up quite a bit, based off its current version here. So here it's at 92, but the base version is 61. It nearly increases by 50%. So I kind of walk you through and see how that actually happens. But yeah, this is the basic video, guys. And yeah, this has been Lightwater. Happy theory crafting, boys. Let's make healing great again.